Hindu politician Nupur Sharma, the former national spokesperson for the ruling party in India, recently said in a televised debate with a Muslim that Muhammad married a little girl. For stating this indisputable fact about the most obvious false prophet in history, Sharma was suspended by her party, and jihadis are threatening her and her family with rape and murder. So, why isn't her party standing up for her? Because politics. Before we get into the facts of the Nupur Sharma controversy, let's talk about the elephant in the room: Muhammad's marriage to a prepubescent little girl. There are tons of passages about this in Islam's most trusted sources. Consider this hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari. We'll start with the chapter heading: Giving one's young children, not adults, giving one's young children in marriage is permissible. But why is it permissible? By virtue of the statement of Allah, and for those who have no monthly courses, i.e. they are still immature. That's Surah 65, verse 4 of the Quran, which tells grown men the rules for divorcing prepubescent girls after marrying them and having sex with them. So, allowing grown men to marry girls who are too young to have a monthly course, a monthly menstrual cycle, is halal because the Quran allows it. And the iddah, the waiting period for a divorce, for the girl before puberty, notice this is clearly referring to prepubescent girls, is 3 months in the above verse. So, if you marry a prepubescent girl and you have sex with her and you decide to divorce her, the prepubescent girl has to wait 3 months before another pedophile can marry her. Then we have the hadith, which shows that marrying a prepubescent girl is perfectly acceptable because Muhammad did it. Narrated Aisha that the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old, and then she remained with him for 9 years, i.e. till his death. So, according to the Quran, marrying a prepubescent little girl is halal. And in case there's any doubt about this, Muhammad himself married a prepubescent little girl. But even though the words are on the screen right now, in English and Arabic, even though the Quran and Muhammad are perfectly clear on this, there are people who will say that I'm somehow making this up. So let's get a second opinion on whether the Quran allows a grown man to marry a prepubescent girl. Take it, Muhammad Hijab.
If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ, and the ones who had never been pubescent before. The Quran doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent. No. One verse.
Like it or not, the Quran allows grown men to marry, have sex with, and divorce prepubescent girls. And Muhammad married and had sex with a prepubescent girl. Those are facts. But sometimes sharing facts can be extremely dangerous. You know what else can be extremely dangerous? Using the internet without a VPN. There are people and companies who are constantly trying to steal your data, your personal information, your passwords. There are companies that are tracking what you do online so that they can sell that information to the highest bidder. When you go online, you need a VPN, a virtual private network. So, click on the link in the description box and get a subscription to Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN is the best VPN deal on the market. Developed by top cybersecurity experts and IT engineers, it sends all of your internet traffic through an encryption tunnel. It hides your IP address, even if you're using public Wi-Fi. It blocks malicious links, ads, and trackers. It monitors data breaches and warns you if your personal information or passwords have been compromised. In other words, it keeps you safe from bad people who want to steal your stuff. If you sign up now, you can be fully protected for just $1.99 per month. That covers all of your devices with one subscription. So click the link in the description box, download the app, get a subscription, and turn it on. Going from horribly exposed to extremely safe will only take you a couple of minutes. So get Atlas VPN and practice safe surfing. Now, a VPN can protect your data while you're online. But what happens if you're a Hindu and you're in a televised debate with a Muslim and you mention the fact that Muhammad married a prepubescent girl? CNN, the most trusted name in news, reports India is trying to contain the diplomatic fallout as outrage grows in the Muslim world following derogatory comments made by ruling party officials about the Prophet Muhammad. As always, it's great to see journalists calling Muhammad a prophet. The United Arab Emirates, Malaysia, Oman, and Iraq are among at least 15 Muslim-majority nations to have condemned the remarks, which were described as Islamophobic, with several countries summoning India's ambassadors. The incident sparked protests in neighboring Pakistan and prompted calls from around the region to boycott Indian goods. India's Hindu nationalist ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, disciplined the two officials involved, but the firestorm involving India's major Arab trade partners is yet to die down. Nothing causes an international firestorm like stating basic facts about the most obvious false prophet in history. What caused the uproar this time? At the center of the controversy is Nupur Sharma, now suspended national spokesperson for the BJP, the party of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On May 26th, Sharma made comments during a televised debate on an Indian news channel about the Prophet Muhammad that were widely deemed offensive and Islamophobic. Most Indian news outlets have not directly quoted Sharma's original comments, even though her comments were completely factual. Sharma later withdrew her remarks and said it was never her intention to hurt anyone's religious feelings. On Twitter, Sharma said her words were a response to derogatory comments made during the debate about a Hindu god. If my words have caused discomfort or hurt religious feelings of anyone whatsoever, I hereby unconditionally withdraw my statement, she said. Here's Nupur Sharma's statement on Twitter. I've been attending TV debates for the past many days where our Mahadev, that's Shiva, was being insulted and disrespected continuously. It was mockingly being said that it is not a shivling, but a fountain. A shivling is a symbol of Shiva. The shivling was also being ridiculed by comparing it to roadside signs and poles in Delhi. I could not tolerate this continuous insult and disrespect towards our Mahadev, and I said some things in response to it. If my words have caused discomfort or hurt religious feelings of anyone whatsoever, I hereby unconditionally withdraw my statement. It was never my intention to hurt anyone's religious feelings. Nupur Sharma. So, Nupur Sharma was in a debate. People were insulting her religious beliefs, and she responded by saying, in effect, if you really want to keep going with the religious insults, I could start talking about Muhammad's marriage to Aisha when she was 6, and Muhammad consummating the marriage when Aisha was 9. So do you really want to go down this road? And that was enough to produce an international uproar. Sharma was punished by the BJP. She and her family now need round-the-clock security because of all the threats she's receiving. Mobs are demanding that Sharma be arrested. Police filed a complaint about her. Jihadis are posting videos about beheading her. In response to violent protests, hundreds of people were arrested and some Muslim homes were demolished. Keep in mind, why is there an international uproar? Because a Hindu woman stated facts about Muhammad's relationship with Aisha. Notice, the response of Muslim leaders isn't, excuse me, but what you've said about Prophet Muhammad is false, and here's the evidence that proves you're wrong. The response of Muslim leaders is, We know that what you're saying is true, but you're not allowed to say it. Because you're a Hindu and we're Muslims, and we're not going to allow a Hindu to criticize our prophet. So, why isn't Nupur Sharma's party, the BJP, defending her? Because politics. India doesn't just have to deal with multiple religious groups within its borders. India has various relationships with countries around the world. India is one of the world's biggest importers of oil, and most of that oil comes from Muslim-majority nations. India also sends millions of workers to work in Muslim-majority nations, which sends money back to India. Indian leaders don't want to ruin their economy over some comments about Muhammad. So they had to throw Nupur Sharma under the bus. The BJP can't defend Nupur Sharma. But I can. And you can. So take a screenshot of the hadith I quoted in this video. I'll also put the hadith on my community page here on YouTube, as well as on Twitter. There's a link to my Twitter page in the description box. Take the hadith and let people know that even though Nupur Sharma has apologized for hurting people's feelings, and even though she's been punished, what she said was absolutely correct. And no amount of whining, no amount of intimidation, no amount of mob violence is going to keep us from telling the truth about the most obvious false prophet in history.